3 minutes after 5 on Manx Radio AM and Manx Radio Digital. Simon Quine with you with the Saturday Sports Classified results for Saturday the 20th of January. And we start off in football in the GH Corlett Woods Cup preliminary round. The game between Douglas High School Old Boys and Jims was postponed, as was the game between Onchan and Pulrose. Castletown 1, Foxdale 4. Governors Athletic 3, Ramsey Youth Centre 2 after extra time. In the Canada Life Men's Premier League, Laxey 6, St George's 1. Ramsey against Corinthians was postponed, as was Union Mills against St Mary's and Moran against Ayr. Douglas Royal 2, St John's 1. Peel 3, Rushen 2. And moving on to DPS Limited Division 2, Maloo against Colby was another postponed game. Douglas and District 2, Michael 2. Canada Life Combination 1, Corinthians 3, Ramsey 3. St Mary's 4, Union Mills 3. Ayr 1, Moran 2. Rushen 1, Peel 0. DPS Limited Combination 2, Douglas Athletic 3, Onchan 4. Colby 1, Maloo 1, Michael 4, Douglas and District 2, Foxdale against Douglas High School Old Boys was postponed, and final result in Combination 2, Ramsey Youth Centre 5, Jims 1. Moving on to rugby this afternoon, the Ravenscroft Manx Shield was the only game remaining in the fixture list. It was Southern Nomads 42, Western Vikings 19. Castletown against Isle of Man Barbarians was postponed, as was the friendly between Northwich Stags and Ramsey. Moving to hockey in the Men's Premier League, Vikings A 8, Backers B 2. Harlequins A 0, Backers A 8. Castletown A 2, Valkyries A 2. In the Ladies Premier League, Backers A 1, Vikings A 3. Valkyries A 2, Harlequins A 2. And the game between Castletown A and Castletown B was postponed due to the weather at Castle Rushen High School. Moving on to Men's Division 1, Ramsey A 6, Vikings B 1. We're awaiting results and updates in Valkyries B against Harlequins B and Vikings C against Castletown B. In Ladies Division 1, another postponement at Castle Rushen High School between Vikings B and Castletown C. Valkyries B 2, Backers B 5. And a further postponement between Backers C and Ramsey A. Men's Division 2, Ramsey B 3, Castletown C 1, and Valkyries C 6, Backers Colts 1. Ladies Division 2, the game between Castletown D and Castletown E was also postponed because of the weather. Vikings C 2, Ramsey B 0. Awaiting score and an update in Harlequins B against Valkyries C. And in the Under-15s League, Valkyries 5, Harlequins 3. And again, waiting a result for Vikings against Ramsey, Rogues and Rascals. So that is the classified results for this afternoon. Turning our attention first of all to football, and Tony Mepham joins me in the studio. Tony, we'll start off with the GH Corlett Woods Cup preliminary round. Now obviously half the fixtures didn't get played because of the weather we've had on the island over the last few days. So no draw for the first round this evening, first of all.
No, we'll not do the draw. We'll try and juggle round, see if we can get the fixtures in next week, Simon. But got a bit of a problem with Jim's, just trying to find out if they're clear because it's their free week. But yeah, with two either-ors, not comfortable with that. OK,
so let's get down to the action today. Castletown 1, Foxdale 4.
Yeah, and what a start this was for Foxdale, because Foxdale went 2-0 up, and when you have a look at the league tables with Castletown at the top, you didn't see that one coming. I think it was Jason Chalmer got one, and Jay Chatwood may have got the second one, so 2-0 looking good. And then it all sort of changed at the start of the second half, because within 5 minutes or so, Jason Chalmer for Foxdale got sent off. So suddenly the onus was on Castletown to go for it. And they got a goal back. I don't know who got the goal. So it was Foxdale 2, Castletown 1. But then Foxdale just managed to cover that one-man deficit, and it was Ricky Newsham who got a goal, and Jay Chatwood got his second of the game. So amazing second half performance by Foxdale, and it finished up Castletown 1, Foxdale 4, and Foxdale go through.
And this next one sounds like a great game. You read the match report to me earlier on. Governors Athletic 3, Ramsey Youth Centre 2 after extra time.
Yeah, this was an absolute humdinger, and I'll see if I can get the match report up, and thanks to Dean Turton for putting it through and giving us the information. Youthie started the better, but then a silly foul by their keeper led to David Kay for Governors from the spot. Just a minute later, Ross Crawford's effort for Ramsey Youth Centre from the spot was saved by Billy Sweeney, so well done Billy at the other end. After the break, Sean Dodd's deflected effort doubled Governors' lead, but Crawford's effort from range halved the deficit. Then with 10 to go, Governors went down to 10 as David Kay was sin-binned. 5 minutes later, they were down to 9. Josh Dunn got sin-binned. Then in the 91st minute, with Smith's 25-yard effort, levelled it to go into extra time. A bit worried at that time because it was getting a little bit darker, but Governors sealed it in the 115th minute when Josh Dunn seized on a defensive mix-up to fire home and send Governors into the next round of the Cup. So congratulations to Governors, commiserations to Ramsey Youth Centre and Old Boys. But as you say, what a humdinger of a game.
Yeah, sounds like a great action up at Nobles Park. So as you say, you'll try and get those missing fixtures sort of slotted into the calendar somewhere, and then we're in a position when we can do the first round draw. Moving on to Canada Life Men's Premier League, big win for Laxey, 6-1 winners over St George's.
Yeah, huge win, and I think 3 goals very early on there, Simon. Not too sure on the exact timing, but Ryan Gartland got 2, Adam Meelan with a goal, Ethan Hawley, Tommy Kenny and Ben Wazza. That's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, got Brody Pensions kicking around as well. So I think one of those there might not be correct, but I don't know who got St George's goal, but terrific win for Laxey, 6-1.
And the game you were at for us this afternoon, Douglas Royal 2. St John's 1 again, sounded like a good game.
It wasn't a bad game at all. I think probably the way the two sides will look at it is the first half belonged to St John's, the second half definitely belonged to Douglas Royal. But the way it went, first couple of minutes, it was Douglas Royal who took the lead. Dominic McCarry-Brennan with the first good finish by him because he found some space on the right-hand side. Goalkeeper had come out, made a little bit of an error in judgment and timing, and Dominic, a bit of a tight angle right foot, put it in past the keeper to make it 1-0, but it wasn't long before Luke Murray got the equaliser for St John's, and Kieran Brock and Luke in the first 45 minutes were a real handful to deal with. Certainly Kieran Brock was a busy boy, but Luke managed to finish it off really well just inside the penalty area, and 1-1 it was at half time. And second half changed round with the weather conditions today, Simon, was going to make it a little bit more advantageous for Douglas Royal, and they got their second goal later on, and it was Dominic McCarry-Brennan who got the goal, but Andy Aspridge, Harley Jackson with a belter went over the top, and also Dominic McCarry-Brennan could have had 2 or 3 each in that second half because they had loads of chances in front of goal, and it was only due to St John's goalkeeper with some super saves that kept the scoreline like it was, but finished up Douglas Royal 2, St John's 1.
And Rob Pritchard was out in the West of the Island for Peel against Rushen again. Sounded like another really good game. I heard you talking at lunchtime. Rushen haven't played for getting on for 2 months since they played a competitive match, but didn't really show any signs of rustiness, and probably could have snatched a draw towards the end.
Definitely, and I was listening to Rob's report, and right the way through, I think Peel had a hold of the game, but it was Rushen who took the lead. Joe Reid with a header, but then just at the start of the second half, Thomas Brown, who did that recently against Braddon, came off the bench and scored one. But today, I think he started, and 1-1 it was. But then it was Taylor Andrews on 68 minutes who made it 2-1 to Peel, and then Paul Whitehead got the third to make it looking pretty comfortable for Peel at 3-1. But Rushen, Aaron Hawley it was in the last couple of minutes, it might have been in injury time, got it back to 3-2, but Rushen couldn't get that goal, and Peel go now 3 points clear at the top of the table from Ayr United, but Ayr United do have 2 games in hand.
Just on that, speaking about the table there, obviously Ayr's game was postponed due to the waterlogged pitch earlier on today. That's another 3 points for Peel. In the psychology of this, would you rather have the points on the board or the games in hand? Definitely
points on the board. Definitely. You want to sort of get the big enough gap that you can. Now, Ayr United, when you look at it, Simon, you look at their stats, they've played 13, won 12, lost 1, and they only lost 1 a couple of weeks ago against Corinthians, and that can sort of play sort of mind games with you. But Ayr United, I don't know if you noticed, they won 11-0 last week against Douglas Royal, so they bounced back, and that's what you've got to do. And when I look at the two teams, Peel and Ayr, they sort of cancel each other out because they've got good players all over the place. And I think this could hinge a little bit on the Peel and Ayr United game when that comes up. But there's loads of twists and turns to come. But certainly, I think, it's between those two, Peel and Ayr, to take the league.
OK, we'll move on to DPS Limited Division 2. Just the one game left. Maloo against Colby was off. D&D 2, Michael 2.
Yeah, 1-1 at half-time. Jordan Cowan, well done, Jordan, with a couple of goals for Michael. And for Douglas and District, it was Stephen Mulhern with one and Daniel Stewart-Clegg with the other.
And moving on to Canada Life Combination 1, Corinthians 3, Ramsey 3. I saw a report on Twitter. This sounded like a good game as well.
Belting game because it was just behind me and all the roars and everything that was going on. I was getting dizzy just spinning round, but it was Ramsey who took the lead. I'm not too sure who got the goals. I've only got Ronan Gell here who got a goal. Whether he got a hat-trick, I don't know. But, certainly Corinthians, Caleb Hugill, who's scoring plenty of goals and making a name for himself for Corinthians, also playing for the first team. He's only 16 years of age. And then it was 2 goals together near enough within a couple of minutes. Connor Bell with the second one, and then an own goal give Corinthians a lead 3-2. And then it was only probably in the last 2 to 3 minutes that Ramsey got the equaliser. When you look at Ramsey in that league table, the second in the league with games in hand against St Mary's, they were really going for that fourth goal, but the referee closed the game off and finished up 3-3. Cracking game to watch.
And St Mary's 4, Union Mills 3. Mary's are 4-1 up at half-time, so some fight in the second half from Union Mills.
Yeah, superb, and I don't know, we'll find out later on with the FC Isle of Man game how the weather is, but certainly today I've looked at some of the scores, half-time scores that we've got. You could see the change around in that second period because it was a real strong wind, but down the bowls protected a little bit more, but 4-3, what a great game that was. 4-1 at half-time, 4-3 final, was that?
That's right, yeah.
Yep, and it was Jamie Skillen with 2 goals. Dylan Vick got one, and Therese Thompson in the combination got one today. Now, we'll have a look at the league tables later on, but that does now give St Mary's a 6-point lead away from Ramsey.
And Ayr 1, Moran 2.
And that's all the information we've got on that one.
That's all we've got, yeah. And Russian 1, Peel 0.
Same on that one. If you can text us through, please, 166 177. I'll give the goal score as I mentioned.
I will come to that now as well, that yesterday evening you mentioned to Rob on the Friday Sport Preview, you were tipping Russian to win the combi this year.
Right, well, let's have a look at this because I'm afraid, Rob, it's advantage to me tonight at the moment, so I hope he's listening. But the reason why I say that, I looked at Ramsey, look at lunchtime's league table. They played 11 for 28 points, and Russian had played 11 for 22 points. But now, obviously, Ramsey have dropped 2 points today. Russian got the win. Pretty certain they've still got each other to play. And Russian are the league sort of championship holders, if you like. And I think Rob looked at me as if to say, what you're looking at, but I think he'll take note now and shake my hand later.
Well, they've got 3 points on the board for you today anyway.
Definitely.
DPS Limited Combination 2, Douglas Athletic 3, Oncom 4. Get another high-scoring good game. Yeah,
it's belting their game, isn't it? And it's this second half sort of scenario. But I haven't got Douglas Athletics goal scorers. But for Oncom, it was Ross Byrne with a couple of goals, Matthew McNee, and Lewis Dawson was the other goal scorer.
And Colby 1, Maloo 1. I've just got Maloo goal scorer come through here, Daniel Thirlwell from the penalty spot.
Yeah, he's a good goal scorer, Daniel Thirlwell. The other one, the goal scorer for Colby was Tom Walton.
And Michael for D&D 2.
Yeah, it was 3-0 to Michael at half-time. Haven't got Michael's goal scorers, but for Douglas and District, thanks to Dave Matheson, it was Don Quirk who got both goals. And
Foxdale, Douglas High School All Boys postponed again, as you would probably expect.
Yeah.
It's the first one to go normally, isn't it?
Yeah.
And Ramsey Youth Centre at 5, Gyms 1.
Yeah, if you could please text us to Ramsey Youth Centre goal scorers, but 5-1 expected result when you look at the league tables.
Okay, so let's just have a quick look at those league tables, Tony. I think I haven't got them in front of me, but you've got them there. So we'll start off with the Canada Life Premier League. We briefly touched on this. Peel, obviously, extending their lead today, but Ayr with games in hand.
Yeah, and I think with Peel, you're looking at 15 games. So they play 24, so there's only 9 to go, but they're on 39 points compared to Ayr United, who are on 36, who've played 13. So a lot of football still for Ayr to play. Ramsey are then in third place, who have played 14 games for 31. and you've got Laxey, who are played 15 now, an extra game from today, and they're on 28. So they're climbing up the table nicely. It's the bottom of the table that we want to have a little look at, because, the top, you're not in any worries because you're going to stay in the league. But Moran, at bottom, played 13 for 7. Uni Mills have played 13 for 8. And then you've got Braddon, who have played 15 games, I think it is, for 9. So, a little bit of pressure on them. But St George's must be looking over their shoulder, because another game played today. So they've played 14, 10 to go. And they've got 10 points. So just above them. But I don't think they'll get involved in the relegation battle, as St John's, who have played 13 for 13.
DPS Limited Division 2, not an awful lot's changed here because of the GH Corlett Woods Cup, just the one game, Douglas and District against Michael.
Yeah, I think that Michael one, I could see you're looking at that one, because they're in third place. They've played 13 games now, so it's one more than Castletown, 2 more than Foxdale, but 28 points. So they've dropped 2 points today, and they could have quite easily have gone top of the table today. So that just shows you how costly that result could prove at the end of the season against D&D today.
And we mentioned the top of kind of like Combination 1. Down the bottom of the table, how are things looking there?
Yeah, Combination 1, Douglas Royal, who played last night and were beaten 7-1 by St John's. It's Douglas Royal, who have played 14 for 3, and then we've got St John's 13 for 11. And then I think it's Braddon, who played 10 for 9. But it's at the top of the table when you look at St Mary's, Ramsey, Union Mills and Russian. And I'd probably even chuck Ayr United in that as well, who are all sort of battling for that. So some real close games coming up in the next few weeks.
And in Combination 2, pretty much a full card there today. Foxdale, Douglas High School Boys, the only game that was off. So maybe a little bit of change in that table today?
Not at the top of the table, because Old Boys have played 13 now. They remain top on 34. But Michael United have got 28 points now for 12. And when you look at sort of Onken, 11 for 28. And you've got Ramsey Centre and Old Boys 14 for 27. It's a long wait for that one on there, but I would say Old Boys, Michael, Onken or Ramsey Centre, the winners are going to come from there.
All right, Tony, thank you very much. I'll let you get away, because I know you want to get down to the bowl. FC Isle of Man against Kendall Town this evening. You're on commentary duty with Rob Pritchard down there, aren't you?
Yeah, I was hoping to stay here a little bit longer, actually, to stay warmer.
Have you warmed up from this afternoon now?
I've just warmed up a little bit, so I might just stay another 5 minutes and then I'll go to temperatures.
Yeah, go and get yourself a coffee downstairs. Cheers, Tony.
Saddle up, partners, round 'em up and hunker down for a rootin' tootin' good time with host Alex Brindley, that's me, and Christy DeHaven.
Yeehaw! The ginger one.
Settle in for some wild and woolly radio adventures. Get ready to rustle up some brain power with the cup of tea catchphrase and gallop along to the tunes of the classic couple. So holster up those worries, put on your boots, and mosey down to Alex in the Afternoon, riding into your ears every Monday through Thursday from 3 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. only on Manx Radio, where the West meets the best in entertainment, even though we broadcast from the East Coast.
Manx Radio Sport.
21 minutes after 5 o'clock on Manx Radio. Saturday Sport Classified. Simon Quine with you through until around about 6 o'clock, and we'll be popping down to the bowl and speaking to Rob Pritchard, getting team news and a preview ahead of the FC Isle of Man Kendall Town game this evening. But first of all, let's turn our attentions to rugby, and in the Ravenscroft Manx Shield was the only game today. Dave Christian was there for us as Southern Nomads took on Western Vikings. Good evening, Dave.
Yeah, good evening, Simon. Difficult day today. Obviously, we only had that one game taking place, the Castletown versus Isle of Man Barbarians fixture. That was postponed late on last night. And Ramsey against Northwich Stags friendly, that was postponed as well. But unfortunately for Ramsey, they'd actually travelled to Northwich. Pitch was frozen on arrival. To make matters worse, after travelling and not playing the game, their return flight's been cancelled. But they're being put up by Logan Air at Manchester Airport, and will make it back tomorrow morning. So hard luck to them. The only game that was on the show, though, was down at Ballakillia Park, and it was a pretty good game. It was chilly and windy, but that didn't stop the players, and really nip and tuck for most of the game. Jack Goodwin try converted by Craig Martin put Western Vikings in front early on. Finn McGregor equalised for Nomads. Mark Young converted to make it 7-7. Young then went over himself to put Nomads in front, but Connor Garland struck back for Vikings before half-time to leave the Nomads lead at 14-12. A 2-point game was, well, to be honest, it was much better than I was expecting, and really, really good to see them go. In the second half, though, Rob Crane, who for me had a great cameo, he only came on at half-time, but he scored one and he made one a little bit later in the game as well. Looked really good when he got the ball. He extended that Nomads lead early in the second half. Mark Young again converting. Morgan Armstrong Patton pulled one back at the other end for Western Vikings. Craig Martin converted that one, and it was a 2-point game again with Nomads in front 21-19. In the closing stages, though, Nomads seized the game by the scruff of the neck. Sam Kenyock ran in 2, Peter Cope 1, and Mark Young converted all 3 of those to finish with 6 from 6 off the boot in pretty difficult conditions. There was a really strong wind coming directly across the pitch, and Mark Young was kicking them from both sides and from out wide as well. A great performance from him with the boot, and probably gets my nod for man of the match, although, like I said, Rob Crane did a really impressive cameo in the second half. So fair play to Nomads. They'll climb up the Manx Shield table. I think that win puts them into third place. Western Vikings second, then Ramsey, who didn't play today, they will remain top of the table. Got quite a few games to go. We've had a few postponements, so that Manx Shield coming to a conclusion a little bit later on, probably towards the end of March, I would think, just looking at the number of fixtures we've got left to fit in. It should be Ramsey's. They're significantly better, at least so far this season, than anyone else. And they'll be favourites to take that title. They also have a Manx Plate, a Cheshire Plate final coming up, 16th of March for that one. Bala Fletcher, kick-off time yet to be determined, but that's Ramsey against Western Vikings. And it's not often you'll see 2 Isle of Man sides in a Cheshire final, but that's all to come up today. Congratulations to Southern Nomads and commiserations for Ramsey, who are stuck there in Manchester for tonight.
Dave Christian, thank you very much. That's summary there. The Ravenscroft Manx Shield was the only game played in local rugby today. And just to recap that, as Dave mentioned, Southern Nomads 42, Western Vikings 19.
In 1964, Manx Radio was born. Right the way through this momentous year, we are marking the nation station's 60th birthday. On Monday and Friday, the Man in Line closes with a revealing dip into the archives. On Wednesday's Man in Line, we revisit the architectural gems revealed over the years by Kelly's Eye. And Kelly's Eye will be on Guller's Gargan at 5 on Sunday. And you can subscribe to all of our anniversary content online. Go to the podcast series 60 Years Serving the Nation at manxradio.com. Manx Radio at 60, born to broadcast, happy to help.
Manx Radio Sport.
Okay, then we move our attention on to hockey. Ben Cunningham joining me in the studio. Just before we look at today's action, Ben, some extra results in there from those 3:30 pushbacks in men's Division 1. Valkyries B5, Harlequins B0. And also looking over to ladies Division 2, Harlequins B5, Valkyries C3. And in the under-15s league, Vikings 1, Ramsey, Rogues and Rascals 3. But let's start off in the men's Premier. Well, let's talk about the weather conditions, because that obviously scuppered a few of the fixtures down in the south of the island at Castle Rushen today.
Yeah, unfortunately, we lost all the fixtures today at Castle Rushen. Unfortunately, the goals were just not wanting to stay still. The wind was very much blowing them all over, so safety is paramount. So games were all abandoned today at Castle Rushen. Okay, so let's look at the fixtures that we did get away and start off in the men's Premier League. Vikings A8, Backers B2, big win there. Yeah, really commanding victory there for Vikings A. John Cooper with 3, Alex Andrews with 1, John Ferrells with 2, Josh Dougal with 1, and Darryl Jago with 1 for Vikings A. And then for Backers B, it was Harry Collins and Craig Lees. And at Harlequins A0, Backers A8, again another commanding performance from Backers. Yeah, and Backers pretty much they capitalised on any mistakes and they punished Harlequins, unfortunately. For Backers, it was Johnny Callow with 2, Andy Whiting with 2, Jamie Brown with 2, Tom Lotham with 1, and Tony Bentley Roberts with 1.
And Castletown A, Valkyries A shared the spoils 2-2.
Yeah, and I said in my preview on Friday with Rob that I thought this would be a stalemate and be quite close, and it has ended that way. Andy Winstanley with 2 and Steve Ronan with Andy Winstanley with 1 and Steve Ronan with 1, and then for Valkyries it was Sam Moffat with a double.
And moving on to the Ladies Premier League, Backers A1, Vikings A3, and Vikings taking an early lead in the table with other results today.
Yeah, and we will come to that very shortly, as you say, Simon. But yeah, a really good result. And the report I had, it was really an even game, end to end, and it was a really good competitive game. Morven Smith with 2 and Kim Carney with 1 for Vikings A, and then for Backers A, it was Rosie Callow.
And Valkyries A2, Harlequins A2 as well. Again, another draw.
Yeah, and this is Harlequins' first points of the season for them, so congratulations. And they have held off who were the Premier League leaders, and they are not anymore. Valkyries A, Maxine Jones and Emily Kelly with goals each. And then for Harlequins, it was Rachel Bilton and Gemma Quayle. I umpired this game, and it was very end-to-end, very intense, close, and there was lots of chances for both teams, but I have to agree, a draw was a very good result.
I suppose by that time, 2 o'clock this afternoon, the sort of conditions in Peel were getting a little bit worse than they were this morning.
To say the bobble hat just managed to stay on my head today is an understatement, but very tough conditions today, probably at all games.
And Castletown A, Castletown B, shame that derby at Castle Rushen was postponed due to the weather. We've touched on that already. So moving on to Men's Division 1, Ramsey A6, Vikings B1.
Yeah, really good result there for Ramsey, and Nat Smith with 4 goals, and I believe one of his goals was an absolute screamer. Reverse stick into the top corner of the goal, so very good result there for him, and 4 goals as well. Dan Hurd with a goal and Connor Parfitt with a goal for Ramsey, and then for Vikings the consolation was Josh Knights.
And in the game we've just got the result through, the 3:30 pushback, Valkyries B5, Harlequins B0.
Yeah, good result there for Valkyries B, and Harlequins. Okay, they've not got any points yet still, but they are giving the teams in this league a good run for their money. Neil Jacobs with 3, Ethan Adams with 1, and Ollie Freer with 1.
And I believe have you got the latest from King Williams College, Vikings C, Castletown B?
I have indeed, and I'm just looking here. So the latest score was half-time, it was 0-0, and it's currently 1-1. Both the Vikings C goal came from Jacob Harding, and the Castletown goal has come from Elliot Butler. And the latest report I've got is the weather is frustrating both teams, and possibly umpires might call the game short if both captains agree to it, because the conditions are starting to get worse. But credit to every team that's played today. In the conditions, it's not been brilliant.
No, won't have been pleasant out there at all. Ladies Division 1, just the one game remained after those postponements at Castle Rushen, and that was Valkyries B2, Backers B5.
Yeah, and I caught the end of this game, and Backers looked really good today, and I think Valkyries were just missing a few players today. For Backers, it was Sienna Millwall with 2, Sam Franklin with 1, Neve Goddard with 1, and Pippa Slate with 1. And the Valkyries goal scorers were Lola Bass and Emma Miller.
And Men's Division 2 up on the north of the island at Ramsey Grammar School, Ramsey B3, Castletown C1.
Yeah, good result there for Ramsey. I know they'll definitely be wanting to try and get the promotion this season, and they're looking really good so far. Dan Cross with 2 and Tom Howard with 1. And then for Castletown, it was Oz and Dunn.
And Valkyries C6, Backers Colts 1.
Yeah, this is a really good result there for Valkyries, and I think that this league is probably going to come down between Valkyries and Ramsey, and when them two meet, which I think is not next week, the week after, that game's going to be really crucial. 6 goal scorers as well for Valkyries, so they've shared the load there. Mark Perryman with 1, June Belando with 1, Jules Collier with 1, Liam Harrison with 1, Jonathan Kane with 1, and Brian Griffin with 1. And then for Backers, the consolation was Christian Davis.
And in Ladies Division 2, Vikings C2, Ramsey B0.
Yeah, good result there for Vikings C, making amends from last weekend's defeat to Harlequins. And the goal scorers were Sarah Presley and Joanna Roney.
Another one, the late pushbacks, we've just confirmed the result in this. Harlequins B5, Valkyries C3.
Yeah, and I've just got the scorers through. And they are, for Valkyries, it was Lizzie Burns with 2 and Leah Haight with 1. And then for Harlequins, it was Molly Dennett, Kerry Williams with 2, Hannah Nuttall and Ella Breakmore. And I have got a report. What a great game of hockey from both teams in the wet, miserable 3:30pm game. With the wind trying its best to blow the players off the pitch, both teams started short of players, but once Quins were up to full strength team, they were able to go on and secure the victory. Must give a huge shout out to the determined Valkyries team. Heads never dropped and defended brilliant. Goalkeeper made some fantastic saves thanks to the umpires. Enjoyable and well played game.
And in the under-15s league, same teams involved, Valkyries, Harlequins. Reverse of the score, though, Valkyries 5, Harlequins 3.
Yeah, good result for Valkyries. They're looking really good in this under-15s league. Ryan Thomas, Lady Hoot with 1 and Liam Harrison with 3. And then for Harlequins, it was Ben Wright and Caleb Blakemore with 2.
And again, another 3:30 pushback. Vikings 1, Ramsey Rogues and Rascals 3 at Ramsey Grammar School.
Yeah, good result there for Ramsey. Haven't got the Vikings goal scorer, but for Ramsey it was Toby Bashford, Charlie Dormer and Valentino Crossgrave.
So presumably as well, with those postponements because of the weather down at Castle Rush, and the fixture book will have to be rewritten at some point later in the season to get those games back in, Ben.
Yeah, I mean most of them. Well, two of the 4 of them are Castletown derbies. So whether Castletown will give up their training slot and play their games instead of their training slot, we wait and see. But it will all come down to the decision made by both teams, but the MHA will also have an involvement in organising the refixtures.
And like you say, it's not been a great day out there, so fantastic for everyone who's been out playing, taking part, and supporting the teams across the island. Absolutely.
I mean, yeah, everybody's been saying today just how awful the conditions were, and I've heard a few people say this morning when they opened the curtains, they thought, oh, I'm waiting for the message to say it's off, but no, it went ahead. And of course, safety's paramount. We lost Castletown, unfortunately, but we've managed to get all the other games off. So hats off to umpires, the players, and of course the people that are looking after the pitch for the MSR. All
right, Ben Cunningham, thank you very much for your coverage of hockey this afternoon.
The Economic Strategy Annual Update was debated in Tynwald this week, with the Chief Minister painting a very rosy Manx economic picture which seemed to avoid discussion of the pitfalls and obstacles to economic success. This led to criticism from some members that perhaps government wasn't living in the real world, or indeed that the Chief Minister was living on Fantasy Island. So who's right? You get the opportunity to decide by listening to Perspective tomorrow at 12 noon on Manx Radio with me, Phil Gorn. The Chief Minister certainly has a dream, but is his government delivering?
Manx Radio Sport.
23 minutes away from 6 o'clock on Manx Radio, Saturday Sport Classified. Simon Quine with you here on Manx Radio, and Rob Pritchard will be joining us very shortly. FC Isle of Man down in action at the Bowl tonight. They take on Kendal Town, who are on a fine run of form in the North West Counties Premier Division. FC Isle of Man, of course, a mixed run of form, just one win in the last 7. So they really could do with picking up some points at home very shortly. We will get team news and a preview of that from Rob Pritchard very shortly. Kickoff is just over 20 minutes away. Tony Mepham is on his way down there as well to take up co-commentary duty with Rob Pritchard, and you can hear full coverage of that game on AM 1368 and of course on Manx Radio Digital and online via manxradio.com.
Chris Pearson, the Sunday Chill Out.
Take the chance to chill tomorrow from 7.
some people say that Mark Tiley in the morning is one of the reasons people come on holiday to the Isle of Man.
Funny you going to the Isle of Man for your holiday. What's funny about that? I hear it's very attractive. Which, the Isle or the man?
Now, we don't believe that's true for a moment, but we do definitely attract inquiring minds onto the programme.
I'm not an unsophisticated woman. I've been to Jersey and the Isle of Man.
Join me, Mark Tiley, for the adventure of your life. 9:30 to 12, Monday to Friday, Manx Radio.
Join me, Chris Kinley, every weekday evening here on Your Manx Radio. We play music from all the decades, the 60s and the 70s. We might even chuck in a bit of 80s as well, you know. It's what we do. Kinner's Conundrum, of course, with our friends at the Ocean Views. That's after 7 o'clock. And a classic album of the week. We'll play a track from that at 7:30.
Y'all ready for this?
So we play music from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, noughties, or whatever it's called now. It's all greatest hits. It's all here on Your Manx Radio, weekday evening, 6:30 through till 9.
Greatest hits with Nicola Bowker & Co. Local accountants for local business.
If you bought your loon pants and cheesecloth shirts from Paraphernalia, if your vinyl records came from Mark Kelly's or the Music Box, if your weekends were danced away at the MGM, the Port Disco or the Hawaiian Bar, then join me to relive those halcyon days with 3 hours of music from the decade that had it all. Sensational 70s on Manx Radio from 1 till 4 on Sunday afternoons with me, Mike Buttle. It's on DAB, online, on smart devices, and absolutely live on air on Manx Radio.
Manx Radio Sport.
21 minutes away from 6, just having some technical issues getting hold of Rob Pritchard down at the Bowl as we look ahead to preview this evening's FC Isle of Man game. I think what we'll do, we'll take a break for a minute. We'll try and see if we can at least get you some team news before that, and then Rob Pritchard will hopefully join us for commentary from just before 6 o'clock this evening.
The Manx Radio News team speaks to all sorts of people about all sorts of things, and you'll often hear parts of those interviews on air. But if you've ever wondered what happens to the bits you don't hear, wonder no more. We have the Manx Newscast, where you can hear the interviews in full. Covering everything from the very serious to the downright bizarre, this is where you can listen to the full story at your leisure. Manx Radio Newscast, available to download from manxradio.com or your favourite podcast provider.
The Nation Station, Manx Radio.
Manx Radio Sport.
OK, so we are struggling to get hold of Rob at the Bowl, so we will run through team news for FC Isle of Man. They take on Kendal Town this evening at the Bowl. Kick-off at 6 o'clock. And before we hand over to Rob for commentary duty, we'll briefly hand back to Christy DeHaven on the FM network with the Saturday Live Lounge. But the starting 11 for FC Isle of Man to take on Kendal Town is Wilkinson wears number 1 shirt in goal. Sherrod at 2, Crook, Kelly, Sherry, Watson, Garvey, Frank Jones in the middle of the park wearing the captain's armband, Doyle, Pennington and Simpson is your starting 11, Williams, Burns, McDonnell, Gerard and Charlie Higgins on the bench for FC Isle of Man. Kick-off at the Bowl is 18 and a half minutes away at 6 o'clock. Rob Pritchard and Tony Mepham will be here on AM 1368 and Manx Radio Digital to bring you full match commentary as they take on Kendal Town this evening. But with the time at 18 minutes before 6 o'clock, don't forget the podcast up very shortly over at manxradio.com if you want to catch up on any of the action from football, rugby and hockey today. But briefly, we'll hand you back to Christy DeHaven and Manx Radio's FM network on the Saturday Live Lounge.